Welcome once again, friends, to another virtual art class with the North Shelby Library and me, your instructor, Miss Kristy. Now, I'm a little excited about today's project because we're going to get our hands a little bit dirty today, and we're going to be working with clay. We're going to be making art pendants out of clay, and to make these pendants, we're going to be playing with patterns, specifically patterns that you can find on your shoe. We will be talking more about that in a few minutes, but right now, let's go over what you will need to do this project. If you registered for this event, then you would be eligible to have picked up a kit, a supply kit, which I have shown right here. And in that supply kit, in a little baggie like this, you'll have your instructions, your paper instructions, because I know some people, they prefer to work on their own time, and you can certainly do that. So we always make sure to include that. And we also have a few other things. First, we have our clay. Now this clay is, it is just Crayola air dry clay that I got in a big tin. You can get it in big buckets like this, or you can get it in little small packages that have not much more clay than you see inside my little container right here. Next, you have paint, which we have here, and that is once your pendant is dry and finished, then you'll be able to decorate it with your paint. And we have Q-tips for painting if you want to use that. And in addition, we have, since we're going to make this a pendant, which is a necklace that goes around your neck, we have this little cord that goes with our kits. The last thing in this kit is a piece of cardboard. And the reason I include that is because clay is incredibly, very awesomely messy. And if you are working on a table at your house, sometimes that clay can be so messy that it can get down into the grains and grooves of the table, and it's really, really hard to clean up. So I include this, and I encourage you all to work on your cardboard surface while you're working with your clay. If you did not pick up a kit with the library, you can still use what you have at home. Like I said, you could go to the store and get some air dry clay. You can also, this is just regular, you can use tempera or acrylic paint or watercolor paint if you've got any of that around the house. This is just a little bit of cord. This is kind of silk cord, but you don't have to use that. You can use anything. You can use twine, you can use ribbon, you can use whatever you want for your pendant. You also need two things that will have to come from your home to finish this project. One is a pencil, or something like a pencil. If all you have is a pen, that's fine too. And we're going to use this to drill the hole into our pendant so that we can string with our string to put it around our neck. The last thing that you're going to need from your home is a shoe. Now it can be any shoe that you want. It can be your shoe, it can be your mama's shoe, but you have to ask your mama. It can be your favorite pair of flip-flops. It can be your favorite tennis shoe. Now Miss Kristy has chosen one of her sandals, so that would be perfectly fine to use there. So let's get started, shall we? The first thing that we're going to need is our clay. So I'm going to set that right here. We'll also need our little cardboard. So we'll put that there, move everything else. And the last thing that we will need right away is our shoe. So I'll put that right there. Make sure you have those three things first, and we'll get started. Now remember when I told you that we were going to work with patterns and that we were going to use our shoe? Well, the part of the shoe that we're going to use is the bottom part. And on the bottom of most shoes, and these are the best ones to use, are the ones that have interesting little shapes and patterns already all over them. Do you see that pattern there? My shoe has some interesting ones. I like that one right there. I like how this one swirls around like this. You could even use the heel part, which mine looks like that. So that's what you'll use to do this. So let's start with our cardboard, which I said is the first thing that we need to make sure that we always use. And then let's get our clay. Now in your kit should be a wad of clay. It's kind of wet, it's kind of cold, and when you touch it, you can leave fingerprints in it, and you can kind of feel dusty bits of clay that get on your fingers too while you're working. So this piece of clay is actually enough to make 2 pendants. So if you were to mess up the first one, you can try again, or if you want to share with a friend or a family member and make 2 pendants together, you can do that. Or you can just make 2 for yourself. So the first thing I'm gonna do is kind of just break this into 2 equal pieces that are about the same size. And we'll put this one to one side because we don't need that right now. And I'm going to take this and I want to turn this into a perfect ball. Now the best way to make a ball is to put it in the middle of your hand, take your other hand and very lightly touch it and start rolling, rolling, rolling your hands like this. And as I roll and let it roll around and around, it gets more and more round and more smooth. You want to get it as smooth as you can. Work it all around your fingers and the palm of your hand. And you'll notice that if you apply a little pressure, then it'll flatten our areas out. And if you curve your hand, that'll make it do something else. Just kind of play with it until you get it into a nice little ball shape. Just like this. Perfect. So I have placed my ball in the middle of my cardboard. Now I am going to look at my shoe again. And I'm going to pick the spot on my shoe where I think has the best, most interesting pattern. And I think I'm going to pick this spot right here. I got a little clay on it already. But this spot right here, because it has this kind of pattern and it also has this kind of pattern. So let's kind of take that, and you can actually lay your ball right in the middle where you want it. Turn it over. Now, this is the part that gets fun. You just press down. Just evenly with your hand, press down as hard as you can. All right, I have put a lot of pressure on that. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, I like that. You see how it's all flattened out? And you can see, if you'll look, you can see this part of the pattern right here, and you can see that part of the pattern right there. If I had pressed it down in a different spot, I would have gotten a different look for my pendant. Now, if you don't like what yours looks like, that's easy. You just pick it up and you roll it back into a ball again. And start over and pick a different spot on your shoe. Now, remember I told you how messy it is? Yeah, we're already starting to get a little mess happening. So it's a good thing I'm using my cardboard. I'm going to pick another spot. Just to pick another spot, I'm going to go right up here. And we're going to try again. And I'm going to press, 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 press. And then lift it off. Now, I like that too. That's a good pattern. I think I'm going to keep that one. Now, if your clay gets stuck on your shoe, that's okay. You can just peel it right off very gently with your fingers. You don't want to press too hard with your hands. You want to hold your clay very, very gently. Otherwise, it'll start mushing and changing shape. And we don't want it to do that if we can help it. Now, for artists, it's always a good idea to sign your artwork so that you will always know who did the artwork even years and years from now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign my artwork, but I'm not going to sign it on the front with my pattern. I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to sign it on the back. I'm just going to put my initials on there. So I'm going to very gently, see how I'm kind of easily lifting it up off of the paper or off of the cardboard. And I'm very lightly holding it in my hands. I'm not applying any pressure at all. So you're just very softly touching it. And I'm going to get my pencil and I'm going to very gently turn it over in my hand. And on the back, I think all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my initials. So I'm going to put Miss K, Miss K for Miss Kristy. And that way I know it is mine. If you get little crumbs that come up, you can just gently tap them with your fingers to press them down. So now it has my initial on it, and I will always know that I did that even years from now. Now let's turn it over and see, that still looks good. I was very careful about the way I held it. The next thing we need to do is we need to drill a hole into our pendant. To drill a hole, I'm going to get my pencil again, and I'm going to find the spot that I want to be the top of my pendant, which I think, you know what, I like how the lines on this pattern go straight down. It almost looks like a seashell. So I'm going to have the top of my pendant be right here. And I'm going to pick a spot. I don't want to get too close to the edge, because then the hole will it will break and we won't be able to keep anything, string it with anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hole in kind of further in like this, and I think maybe just enough that it's about as wide as my fingernail. So I'm going to put it right about there. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that's about right. So I'm just going to put that little dot right there, and very gently, remember we have to hold this incredibly gently, we're going to start twirling with our pencil and pushing gently as we go until it goes all the way through to the other side, all the way through. And to take it out, and you can see pieces of the clay are just sticking way out there. We'll fix that in a second. But I am very gently going to pull back out and twirly as I do until it's completely out. So here we have our pieces that are just stuck out there. You can use your finger and very softly just kind of push them flat. And if you want, you could even use the pencil, and I am just rubbing them, rubbing outward from the middle out, all the way around, just to flatten it out and get all those rough edges smooth. Now I have to be very careful, because look, even where I was holding it, it was getting kind of bendy. But we want it to be flat, and I don't want to press, but I'll just kind of turn it over and let's have a look. Yeah, that looks really good. Front and back, and we'll lay it flat like that. Now, that's all there is to it. The pendant itself is made, but you saw every time I touched it, it got kind of bendy and it was soft and wet. We need to wait for our pendant to dry. If you read the instructions on once your pendant is made, now is the hard part. This is the part that takes a lot of patience, because we have to wait for the clay to dry. This particular clay that we are using, this air dry clay, it takes 2 days or maybe even 3 days to completely dry all the way through. And you can make it go faster if you keep it in a warm, dry place. But you want it to be good and dry, because when we were touching it before, it was very soft and wet and kind of bendy when you touched it. But once it's completely dry, it is dry all the way through. And it will be very hard to the touch, almost like a rock. Now this one is completely dry, so it is ready to paint. So what you should do now is you should have your paint colors right here. Yours might be purple, it might be blue, it might be green. We just kind of mixed up whichever paint color we would send home with you. But this is the color that I have with me right now. If yours is different, that is fine. Also, if you have your own paints at home and you just want to use your colors, feel free to do that. You don't have to use this one that we sent with you. Now this paint is This is just regular acrylic paint, and I'm going to add a little water to it. Now clay, it likes to absorb water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my little Q-tip right here is good and wet. And I'm going to add a little paint to it, but it's pretty wet paint. And I'm going to just start painting it. I'm going to start with the ridges and see what that looks like. I kind of like that effect. I like that a lot. So I'm just going to keep it right on the top edge of where that little ridge of clay was rising above the rest. And we'll do this one right across there. Turned out pretty good. Now if you want, you can also get a much lighter color by taking your Q-tip with the paint all over it and just making it super wet. And then you turn it into watercolor. And watercolor is just watered down, translucent is the color that is the term that you would use. Translucent means you can kind of see through it. You see how the thick line right there, you really can't see anything through it, but this one, the paint is a lot more watery, and you can actually see the little clay bumps underneath. That means it's translucent. Not completely transparent, which is all the way see-through, but just a little translucent. And I'm going to just get all my ridges and valleys, my high points and my low points is another way to say that, and just paint it all up. You can paint yours any way you want. I could stop right here and paint with my paint, or maybe I could add another right here, another bit over here in the corner. If you wanted to use a different color and you have a different color at home, you can mix up your colors. I think I'm going to leave that one just like that. I kind of like that effect. I also wanted to show you a couple of other ideas. Now these samples were painted by my children, and they were made using their shoes. We had blue when we did this before, and you can see where the ridge on that one is a pretty thick ridge. And this one right here, that one looks like a wave of water, like the ocean. That was a really good one, I think. Now, you'll notice this one is bigger, and that was because I think I smushed it a little bit more flat than the other. If I were to hold it up on the edge, you can see that they're different thicknesses. And either way is just fine. You can make yours bigger or smaller. And you might even find that as it dries, it shrinks just a little bit from what it was originally. And that's normal too. That's one of the reasons why I like to use a big pencil for this hole, because if I have the pencil for the hole, then I know that even if it shrinks, the hole will still be big enough for me to fit a string through it. But these are now finished. I'm going to let this one dry. We'll just leave that right there. And then we'll get to the next part. I'm going to use this pendant right here that was painted by my youngest son. And we're going to show you how to string your pendant next. So to string your pendant, I'm going to take my pendant that is drying and I'm going to move it out of the way. And I'm going to take my paint and move it out of the way. And that leaves me with my pendant right here. And if you were to look in your bag, you should have gotten a string, something like this. It may not be the exact same color or the same type, but you should have a string to thread your pendant. Now, most of the time when you thread a pendant, that means just take your string and put it through the hole. That's what threading means. A lot of people will just take their one single end and put it through the hole just like this, and then grab the other end and then tie it off. But I don't like doing that because when you do it that way, it tends to make your pendant want to lay a little sideways. If you tried to have it around your neck, it wouldn't lay the right way on your neck, and it might flip backwards and wonky sided. So I'm going to show you a fancy way to do it. First, you take your string and you find both of the end pieces, just like this. You see those? Find them and make them even. And then straighten out your entire piece of thread until you found the loop. Just like that. Then, what you'll do is you will turn your pendant over and you will take your loop and push the loop through. Boop. So that the loop is all the way through. You see that? Take the end here with your cut ends and put both of them through the middle of the loop. Hold them carefully and then pull it tight. Just like that. Now, if you will look at that, that makes it lay flat and even when you wear it. And I think it looks kind of pretty too. Now, we can't wear it yet because it is not tied off, but you can tie it off too. I'll show you a fancy way to do that. Just hold both of the end pieces in one hand, just like that. Take your finger and make a loop with both pieces of thread. You see how that works? And then this time put the ends through that loop and then pull it tight. Just like that. And now you have your pendant necklace to wear. We would love to see what designs you come up with when you made your pendants. Take a picture of your pendant, and if you would like, you can send it to us through email. Just take a picture, copy it, and put it in the email. The email that you would contact is included in the written instructions that came with the kit. If you did not have the instructions and you're working with your own items, then the email will be below in the description section of this video on YouTube. Thank you so much. Have a great day and keep creating art. Bye-bye.